Deva and Brahma realms. Just let you know a little bit about my early years. I was from a Catholic school. I was 12 years in the Catholic school, and was very much influenced by the Catholic religion. So much so that I had thought that I wanted to baptize. But when I was about 18 years old, I had a lot of doubts. I was in a La Sallian school, so the Catholic brothers at that time were mostly from Ireland, from France, from Canada, etc. So when I asked these brothers about these doubts, they could not give a satisfactory answer. So slowly I withdrew my interest in the Catholic religion. After I graduated, I had a friend who was very keen into Hinduism. He was of Chinese origin like me, and because of him, I also took an interest. I used to write to the Ramakrishna Math in India, the Self-Realization Fellowship in California, Swami Yogananda. And for 4 years, through the books, I practiced meditation and all that. Later, I came across the Buddhist teachings, and I went into Mahayana Buddhism, which is like Chinese Buddhism, for 9 years, 6 years as a layman, and 3 years first as a novice monk in America, then ordained monk in Penang, Malaysia. But I was very disappointed with my first teacher, so I went to Thailand and reordained. And when I studied the Theravada suttas, I found a lot of contradiction between the two main schools of Buddhism, which is Theravada, the original, and Mahayana. So tonight, this talk about the Deva and Brahma realms will be mainly based on the early suttas, early discourses of the Buddha. The Buddha said that every solar system is a world. Every sun, every star is a world by itself. So if you look into the sky at night, you see many stars. Every one is a world system by itself, meaning that there's a great possibility that are humans in every one of these solar systems. And the Buddha said that every world undergoes a world cycle, an aeon. In Pali it's called a kappa, and in Sanskrit it's called a kalpa. And there are 4 phases: the formation stage, and then the continuation of the formed world, and then the dissolution, and then the continuation of the dissolved world. So nowadays science tells us about the Big Bang. So I guess the Big Bang is the one where it throws out all that matter that starts to form the stars and all that. And then once these stars are formed, the Buddha talked about expanding world system and a contracting world system. The expanding world system is where the stars move away from each other. This is exactly what scientists are discovering now, that the stars around us, this galaxy is moving away. But it will come a time when it will stop. And then after that, it will start to contract. The stars will start to come nearer to each other. That is what the Buddha said, it's a contracting world system. And that is the start of the dissolution of the world. So a time will come, now we have one sun near us, but a time will come when the second sun will come near, the Buddha said. And when the second sun comes, the world will be so hot that animals will die, human beings will die. And then because they are coming nearer and nearer, a third sun will come. Then the rivers will start to dry. Then after that, the fourth sun. And then the fifth sun, the ocean also will come to only a little water. And by the time the seventh sun comes, the world will burst into flames. And then all these stars will coalesce together to form a huge star. But because it is so huge, its magnetic pull is so strong that although it emits light, the light cannot go out. It comes back again. Now they call it photons, light particles. Goes out and comes back again. That's why nowadays science talks about a black hole. Black hole is not nothing. Not a hole is nothing. It's a huge mass. And so a time will come when this black hole will explode again and form another world, another galaxy. So the Buddha said that every world system has three realms. The sensual realm, which is called the Kamaloka. The form realm, called the Rupa Loka. And the formless realm, called the Arupa Loka. This first one, the sensual, before we come to that, the Buddha also talked about the small 1,000-fold world system, and then the middling 1,000-fold world system, and the large or the big 1,000-fold world system. What the Buddha said was, every small world system consists of 1,000 stars. This is called a small 1,000-fold world system. And 1,000 of these form the middling 1,000-fold world system. And 1,000 of these middling 1,000-fold world system is the great 1,000-fold world system. And the Buddha also said, more than 2,500 years ago, that space is limitless. You cannot find the boundaries of space. Buddha also said that time has no beginning and time has no end. And now, after over 2,500 years, science has just discovered that. Professor Stephen Hawking also saying the same thing. So very slowly, even now, quantum physics is saying things that the Buddha said long time ago. All is consciousness. That's why that Hindu saints also say, isn't it? You are pure consciousness. Yeah? So slowly, science is coming to corroborate all these two great religions. In a way, you can say Buddhism is also part of Hinduism. Yeah. Okay, now the Buddha said that every world system has these three realms. Now we talk about the Kamaloka, the sensual realm. In the sensual realm, the lowest beings are the hell beings. The other thing is, I forgot to say, in the sensual realm, beings are driven by sensual lust. And because of that, you have male and female. So the lowest beings are the hell beings. Slightly higher is the animal realm. And then slightly higher is the ghost realm. In the early teachings of the Buddha, these are the three woeful planes, three woeful realms. But in the later Buddhist teachings, like in Mahayana, they talk about four. They added Asura. But in our early discourses of the Buddha, Asura are Deva. They don't belong to the these woeful realms. And then above these three woeful realms is the human realm. And above this, the human realm, there are 6 heavens in the sensual desire realm. And these 6 heavens, the Devas and the Devis there, they have form just like us. They look a bit like a human, have a head, a body, 2 hands, 2 feet, etc. And the lowest is called the Chatumaharajika Devas. Chatu Maharajika is the 4 great heavenly kings. These 4 great heavenly kings, the one to the north is called the Vesavana, Devaraja. And Vesavana, Devaraja controls the yakas. And to the east we have Devaraja Daktaratha, who is the king of the Gandhavas. And to the south we have Devaraja Virulhaka, king of the Kumbhandas. And to the west we have Virupaka Devaraja, king of the Nagas, serpent spirits. The Buddha also said that there are 4 types of birth: egg-born, womb-born, moisture-born, and direct transformation. The egg-born beings are also called the doubly born, because first they get born into that egg, and then after that, when they hatch out again, that's the second birth. And they, of these 4 types of birth, they are the lowest. Slightly higher is the womb-born, slightly higher is the moisture-born, and slightly higher is the direct transformation. So, this moisture-born and direct transformation, because they are higher than the womb-born, and the womb-born we know is the human beings, these also refer to the Devas and the Devis, moisture-born and direct transformation. That's why it's not surprising, you see in the Bible, Jesus said, unless a man be born of water and of the Spirit, he cannot enter the kingdom of God. So that is moisture. Moisture is like cloud devas. And the Buddha also said that these devas, some are earthbound, some are skybound. Earthbound devas, they like to remain on earth. For example, tree devas, river devas, mountain devas. And then the sky-bound, they like to be in the sky. The Buddha talked quite a lot about these devas, described the different types of cloud devas also. Just now we said, Devaraja Vesavana is the king of the yakas. The yakas are very fierce beings. Because these devas are the lowest, some of them don't have such a good life. We imagine that all devas and devis have a very happy life. Not for some of the lower devas, because they have to kill to survive. For example, the Nagas and the Garudas. The Garudas like to attack and kill the Nagas to eat. Just like we see eagles eating the snakes. But because of the 4 types of birth, the Buddha said that for example, the egg-born Garuda will only attack egg-born Nagas. They will not attack the womb-born and the moisture-born and the direct transformation Nagas, because they are higher. And then the egg-born, the womb-born Garuda will only attack the womb-born Nagas and the egg-born. Then the moisture-born Nagas will attack the moisture-born, the egg-born and the womb-born. And the highest, the direct transformation Garudas can attack all 4 types. So the yakas, because they are fierce, some of them might be on the earth, they could be mountain spirits. So they can kill. And if an ascetic goes into the forest or goes up the mountains, sometimes he encounters these fierce yakas which can kill. And so in the in one of the discourse of the Buddha was visited one day by this king of the Yakas, Visavana Devaraja, who taught the Buddha a parita. A parita is a protective chant, and the names of the fierce Yakas recited. It's like the what they call the tiger generals in the gangster world. So this Devaraja of the Yakas, he said that some of the monks go into the deep forest or in caves and all that, and they may encounter some of these Yakas who are very fierce, who don't even respect their king. They are like gangsters. They don't want to follow the law. They do as they like. Just like some countries have warlords, isn't it? They don't listen to the president or the prime minister because they have a big army behind them. So same in the Deva world. So the Yaka king taught the Buddha chant for the monks to use in case they go up to the mountains and encounter these fierce Devas. And then the Gandhabas, that Gandhabas on earth are found in trees, tree spirits called Gandhabas. But those in the heavens, they normally, when they draw a picture of the Gandhabas, they are like musicians. They like to play musical instruments and sing. And later we find discourses about the Tavatimsa heaven, the heaven of the 33, where the king is Sakadevaraja. That these Gandhabas, because they are the lower Devas, they have to serve the higher Devas. Now the maidens have to regularly go and entertain the higher Devas by singing and dancing, etc. Just like in the olden days in India, where you have slaves and all that workers. And some of them, for example, Sakadevaraja is said to have a chariot drawn by 1,000 white horses. And he has a driver, a chauffeur, and that driver is called Matali, Deva Matali. And that Deva Matali is a Gandhaba who serves the Sakadevaraja. And then another class is Kumbhandas. Kumbhandas is not described much in the suttas, so we don't know much about these Kumbhandas. Then there are Nagas. Nagas, the Buddha said, Nagas take rebirth in the lowest heaven due to three conditions. One, they have a mixture of good and bad karma. Secondly, they practice generosity. They did quite a lot of charity. Thirdly, they had an aspiration to be reborn as a Naga. And Nagas, sometimes some people encounter huge snakes in the forest. They might be these Nagas that are heavenly beings. But the Buddha also said there are some Nagas, and probably applies to other Devas in the lower heaven. Some Nagas are ashamed of their snake body, and they realize that they did not keep the precepts well. So once a week they would keep the 8 precepts like the Buddha advised all the lay followers, and also listen to Dhamma. Devas, because they have the good karma, they are interested in listening to the Dhamma, but not beings like animals and ghosts. Those, their mind is too disturbed, they will not listen to the Dhamma. And one of the Arahant disciples of the Buddha, called Moggallana, with the greatest psychic power, he said he could see Nagas in the ocean swaying according to the waves. These Nagas are very sensual, so you could see these Naga maidens swaying with the waves in the sea. The Buddha said that wherever we go, we should respect the Devas around us, because they can give us problem, they can harm us. But if we respect them, then they will not harm us. They may even help us. That's why you find Hindus like to pray to tree spirits and other spirits. If you go to Bali, also in Indonesia, you find every household has an altar. They pray to the local devas. The Buddha also said that sometimes these devas influence where we stay. If there are powerful devas in a certain area, they can influence powerful humans to come and stay there. And those that are middling stature, they will influence humans of middling stature to stay there. Now we come to the heaven of the 33, called the Tavatimsa heaven. This Tavatimsa heaven is called the heaven of the 33 because there are about 33 leaders, like 33 sultans. And the leader is Sakadeva Raja. He has a few names now. One is Vasava, one is Sujampati, because one of his wives is Suja, an Asura maiden. Another one is Sahasaka, because he has 1,000 eyes, you can see. And it is said that Sakadeva Raja was reborn in that heaven as Deva Raja because of 7 vows he made. One is like he will always support his parents, he will always respect elders, he will never lie, he will always speak gently, not speak coarse words, and he's always generous, etc. So because of his good karma, he has been reborn as a Sakadeva Raja. Just now I forgot to mention that in the lowest heaven of the 4 great kings, they live to something like 9 million years, and heavenly celestial years. And 1 celestial year in that heaven is something like 50 human years. So imagine 9 million times 50, how long is that? That's why sometimes if your relative is reborn as a Deva, he doesn't come to visit you because after 1 or 2 days there, then he thinks about you, he comes back, you're already dead and gone. And the Tavatimsa heavens, their lifespan is something like 36 million celestial years. And 1 day there is something like 100 years on the human plane. Now this heaven of the 33 is also inhabited by Asuras. Asuras are not so gentle like the Devas under Sakadeva Raja. Asuras like to drink liquor and like to fight, and quite sensual. So they regularly fight with this Sakadeva Raja because they were quite a big nuisance to Sakadeva Raja. So it seems one day when they were drunk, Sakadeva Raja and his Devas kicked them out of the heaven and they fell into the ocean in heaven. So they remain in that ocean in that heaven. Once a year, in the Tavatimsa heaven, there is a very special tree that blooms 3 or 4 months in a year there. And the fragrance of the flowers there carries very far. And when the flowers bloom, the Devas will enjoy themselves, sensual pleasures under the tree. So once a year, these Asuras, when they think about that tree blooming, they get very annoyed and they will go up and fight with Sakadeva Raja. So you find this story of these Devas fighting, as in Buddhism, is also in Hinduism, what do you call it, Mahabharata. And also you find is mentioned in the Bible. They say that Michael the archangel drove Satan out of heaven. It probably all refers to the same thing. So It is mentioned in our suttas that sometimes Sakadeva Raja will call a meeting of his 33 Devarajas. And when they have this meeting, the 4 great heavenly kings and their Devas will also attend. But whereas 33 Deva kings, they sit down and have the meeting, but the lower Devas, they have to stand at attention. And once in a while they are having the meeting, they see a bright light coming from far away, flying towards them. And they know it's Brahma coming. So when they know it's Brahma coming, they sit in their seats with clapped hands, like in respect, and wait for this Brahma to come to see which Deva he wants to talk to. So if he wants to talk to a particular Deva, he comes, his form is a bright ball of light, and they cannot see him properly. So he changes his form to be like one of them. And then he will come in front of whichever Deva he wants to talk to. But sometimes he wants to talk to all of them, he will multiply his body. And everyone will see Brahma in front of him. And then higher than that is the Yama Deva, led by Suyama Devaraja. But it is not mentioned much about these Yama Devas. And then the 4th heaven is the Tusita heavens. These Tusita heavens, our Buddha Gautama, before he came down as Siddhartha Gautama, he was reborn in that heaven, Tusita heaven. And after that, he came down as Siddhartha Gautama, as a human. The 5th heaven is the Nimana Rati heaven, the heaven of Devas who delight in their own creations. Their blessings are so great, these Devas, that whatever they wish for, they just think about it and it appears. So, for example, if they remember long time didn't eat chapati, so just think about chapati and it appears. So these are Devas who delight in their own creations. Above that, the highest Devas in the sensual realm is Paranimitta Vasavati heavens. These Devas are also called the Devas who delight in others' creations. They make use of the lower Deva, the 5th heaven, the Manarati Devas, to create whatever they want. It's like using somebody else's psychic powers. So they don't have to do it themselves. But in this heaven, there are a few leaders. One of them is what is called Mara in Buddhism, and called Satan in other religions. This Deva, his ego is very big, and his power is also very great. So when he sees an ascetic practicing, if the ascetic has not attained the 4 jhanas, he will not bother. But when you have attained the 4 jhanas, you are near to enlightenment, he cannot stand. He will come down and disturb you. That's why we find that, like in the Bible, Jesus was disturbed by Satan. The Buddha and his disciples were also disturbed by Satan. Before the Buddha was enlightened, he was disturbed. After the Buddha was enlightened, he was also disturbed because Mara told him not to teach. Because if you teach too many people, then they will become enlightened, and he has less people. So these are the 6 heavens in the sensual realm, Kamaloka. Above this is what is called the form realm, Rupa Loka. But to be reborn in the Rupa Loka, you must attain the Rupa Jhanas. You must attain Samadhi. In the Buddha's teachings, for a person to become enlightened, he must attain 4 jhanas. When you have attained 4 jhanas, it is a very high state. The 4th jhana is the state where it's so calm that the breath has stopped. There's no more breathing. And when a person has attained the 4th jhana, psychic powers come. the Buddha described in detail 6 types of psychic powers. One is called psychokinesis. I forgot the Pali term. This psychokinesis is psychic movements. For example, the Buddha said, sitting cross-legged, he can fly like a bird. And with the flesh body, he can fly as far as the Brahma heavens, which is in the first jhana plane. He cannot fly higher with the flesh body because the other heavens are too far away. And another one is he can dive into the earth, like diving into the water and come out. He can walk through the wall, he can walk through mountains, he can walk on water just like Jesus. So this is called the psychokinesis. Another one is like the divine ear. You can hear ghosts speaking, Deva speaking, far away or near. If he just inclines his mind to know, he will be able to hear. And the psychic, the third eye, divine eye, you can see what he wants to see in the heavens or in the hells, etc. The other one is reading others' minds. If he wants to know what somebody is thinking, he can read a person's mind. That's why nobody can argue with the Buddha, because he can read your mind. The other one is remembering past life. He can remember hundreds and thousands and even world cycles that have passed. There's one night where the Buddha did not sleep. He contemplated for 12 hours the past. And he looked into 91 world cycles. One world cycle is an extremely long time. And he said in the 91 world cycles, there were only 6 Sammasambuddhas, 6 Buddhas who were willing to teach. There were many Buddhas, but most of them don't want to teach. But only 6 wanted to teach. So to encounter the true Dhamma of the Sammasambuddha is very rare. So another of the psychic powers is he can withdraw from the top of his head, what we would call an astral body, and come out. He said another body similar to his body but golden in color, and draw from his head. And sometimes his disciples are practicing so hard that they fall asleep. You can go and wake them up. So when they know that he's watching them, they get frightened and they meditate harder. So these are the 6 different types of powers. So in the form realm, just now we said there are 4 jhanas. We have in the Buddhist teachings we have 4 jhanas and 4 arupas, higher than the 4 jhanas. 4 jhanas are called form jhanas. You meditate on a form, rupa, then you attain the jhana. But arupas is no form, where the mind opens up. I wonder whether it is the same with Hinduism. Hinduism, you have 2 types of samadhi, Nirvikalpa and Sabikalpa samadhi. Anybody can tell me the difference between these 2, Nirvikalpa and Sabikalpa?
Nirvikalpa is without form. Nirvikalpa is without form. And Sabikalpa is with form.
That means it's quite similar to the jhana, Rupa jhana and Arupa jhana. I remember when I first read about Swamiji Ramakrishna as a small boy. He walked out and looked at the sky. And the sky was so wide, his mind opened up and he fell down in a swoon. That means he had attained Arupa jhana in a previous life. So these jhana heavens, there are four jhana levels. The lowest one is the first jhana. If you attain the first jhana and you constantly abide in the first jhana, you can be reborn in that heaven. And that heaven is the heaven of the Brahmas. There are three levels. The highest, the Maha Brahma. Below him is the ministers of Brahma, and then the lowest, the retinue of Brahma. We have discourses by the Buddha where he went to Maha Brahma because he found that Maha Brahma, mostly the Buddha will only go to them if they have been probably his teacher in a past life. So because of gratitude, he wants to teach them. So there is a discourse where the Buddha went to Maha Brahma. Because Maha Brahma, his lifespan is so long, he thought he's eternal. And then Buddha said, you are ignorant. They are higher Devas than you. You didn't know that because Devas, they can see lower Devas, lower than them. Higher than them, they cannot see. So because he's in the first jhana, he cannot see the second jhana, the third, the fourth jhana. So when the Buddha tried to correct his view, he was not impressed by the Buddha. He thought he's higher than the Buddha. So he, according to the sutta, he said, I will disappear from you. So he tried to disappear from the Buddha, but the Buddha's psychic power controlled him, he could not disappear. And then after that the Buddha said, I will disappear from you. He said, he tried. And the Buddha disappeared. He could not see the Buddha, but could hear the Buddha's voice. And they were shocked. And after that the Buddha came back and they could see. And then the Buddha emitted so much light, which was much brighter than them. And they were so shocked. And Maha Brahma said, I've never seen another ascetic as powerful as this Samana Gautama. He has been there for so long, thousands of years, has never seen another ascetic as so powerful. So these are the Brahma heaven. This Brahma heaven, the Devas there, they are just a ball of light. Because they have attained jhana. The jhana is a state of meditative absorption. When you enter the jhana state, your mind becomes one-pointed. And when your mind becomes one-pointed, it is not scattered, it's full of energy. And because it's full of energy, it starts to emit light. But the first jhana is the lowest, but it's enough when he's reborn there to emit very powerful light. The Buddha talked about the lowest Brahma that emit light that can reach 1,000 stars. And then some can reach 2,000, 3,000. The highest, Maha Brahma can reach 100,000 stars. His light is so bright. So this is the first jhana heaven. The second jhana heaven, also 3 levels. And the Devas here, because they have attained the second jhana, the mind gives them so much bliss that they don't need anything in the world to entertain them. They are full of happiness inside. And these Devas in the second jhana plane, the Buddha said, every day they are exclaiming, happiness, 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 like blissed out, better than on drugs. Because they are there for a very, very long time. And then the third jhana heavens, there are also 3 levels in the third jhana heavens. And their happiness, their bliss is even greater. So great is their bliss that they cannot utter a word. They just blissed out. And the fourth jhana heavens, you can see there are 3 levels. One is the Vihapala Deva, Devas of great fruit and great blessings. Then another one is the Asanya Satta. Asanya Satta is a very peculiar type of Deva. Asanya means without perception. If there is no perception, there is no consciousness. There is no feeling. But they have a body. And this body lasts for a long time there. But when consciousness returns, they will pass away from there and come down to another heaven. It is not mentioned much why they are in that state, but I can guess. Because when the Buddha was struggling for enlightenment, he tried all the ascetic practices, he could not succeed. And then there was one method he said he tried. That was because he had attained jhana, his mind was very strong. He tried to use mind to crush mind. He thought, as long as we have consciousness, we have a mind, we have suffering. If we don't have any perception, any consciousness, there's no suffering. So he tried very hard to crush his mind, to make it stop using his mind. But he was not successful. Luckily, he was not successful for us. So I can guess that there are some ascetics who might be successful, crush the mind until it stops. So if they remain in that state, and they're used to it, when they die, they are reborn as that type of Deva, Asanya Satta. Then another realm there is called the Suddhavasa heavens. Suddhavasa is pure abodes. There are 5 levels. And these Devas, you will never be reborn there unless you are an Anagamin. An Anagamin is an Arya called the third fruition Arya. Anagamin means non-returner. A person who has attained the 4 jhanas and understood the Dhamma to the stage that he becomes enlightened to the third stage, he is reborn in that heaven. And from that heaven, he will enter Nibbana. He is never reborn as a lower Deva or as a human being. But some of the Buddha's disciples, after being reborn there, they remember the Buddha. They come back to visit the Buddha. But they come back, their body is so fine, they cannot stand up, They're like melted butter, they just fall down. And then the Buddha, because they are new Devas, they don't know how to use their mind. Then the Buddha tells them, use your mind to strengthen your body, and then they can stand up. So, that is when they incline their mind to form a shape like a human body, they could not stand up. So the Buddha said he has been on the cycle of rebirth for so long, there is no realm that he has not been reborn except this Suddhavasa heavens. Because if he had been reborn in the Suddhavasa heavens, he will never come down, never come back. So these are the 4 form heavens. And above that, you have the Arupa or Arupa Jhana. For a person to be reborn there, it's also called the formless Devas. A person to be reborn there, he must have attained the Arupa Jhanas, what you call Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And that is when the mind opens up. And there are four levels. One is called the base or the sphere of boundless space, where the mind opens up, just like boundless space. The second higher level is called the base of boundless consciousness. After that, he knows that consciousness is boundless. And then above that is the base of nothingness. The mind is so still that he realizes actually there is nothing. All is your imagination. When you imagine, you create the world. When you don't imagine, you don't create the world. You become like what some Hindu saints say, they have become the creator. They can create whatever they want. So that is the base of nothingness. And above that is the base of neither perception nor non-perception, where the mind is about to stop. It's like the flame flickering. It's about to die off. So the consciousness, sometimes there is perception, sometimes there is no perception. Yes. It's not entered another level which is called the cessation of perception and feeling. When a person enters the state called the cessation of perception and feeling, consciousness stops altogether. Breathing stops, the heart stops, everything stops. And you think that that person is dead. The Buddha and some of his Arahant disciples can enter that state. But the Buddha says they stay in that state for 7 days maximum. After that, will automatically come out of it. That state is a very special state. Because after a person attains that state, and he comes out of it, he becomes enlightened. Why? Because he realized just now when he was in that state, there was no world. The world only exists in consciousness. This is now what quantum physics is starting to say. The world, we think that the world is out there. The world is not out there. The world is in here, in our consciousness. But that state, after you attain that state, you become enlightened, and then you won't be reborn anymore. No more Deva for you. These Arupa Loka, this formless realm, some monks say that the Devas there are formless, they have no body. But I don't believe so, because the Buddha said in one of his discourses that you cannot have consciousness without mind. You cannot have consciousness without body. Consciousness must reside in the body. That is the normal consciousness, the sixth consciousness. The sixth consciousness is the seeing consciousness, the hearing, smelling, taste, touch, and the mind, the thinking consciousness. So, if you have consciousness, it comes together with feeling, perception, volition, etc. And that consciousness must reside in the body. So I guess they are called formless Devas because lower Devas cannot see them. The minds have opened up, the body is so fine and so huge that other Devas cannot see them. Some of the Buddha's disciples, after being reborn in heaven, they came back to visit the Buddha. And then they said in the suttas that the body is like a few football fields, so wide, as big as a few football fields. The higher the Deva, the bigger they are. So that is a description of all the Devas. Just now I mentioned about expanding and contracting world systems. You find, like in the Bible, it is predicted that the world will end by fire. But they never explain how the world will end by fire. But the Buddha explained very clearly, all the stars will come together and they will burn. Everything will burn. The Buddha also said at that time, those beings that they see the world is ending, they will put a lot of effort to meditate. And they attain the jhanas, and they are reborn in the second jhana heaven, Asara heaven. Any question?
How should we, as humans, interact with the Deva? I mean, do our paths cross? Do we make pray for them?
Firstly, we hardly ever get to interact with Devas. The Devas that are near us, we can interact. The three Devas, river Devas and all that. And the Buddha said that every area there is a Deva Raja. So we respect them. If there's a huge tree and you think this tree might have a lot of Devas, can light incense, make offerings there. There is an interesting sutta where the Buddha was in the forest. And in the deep forest there are huge trees. So a lot of these Devis, they came to talk to the Buddha. They knew that Buddha was a holy man. So the Buddha talked to them. And then they invited the Buddha to the city, which is inside the huge tree. This huge tree has so many Devas, it's like a city inside the tree. So the Buddha went there. And then after some time, the Deva Raja came back. His name was Alavaka. He saw his wife all talking to the Buddha. He was not happy. He told the Buddha, get out. The Buddha walked out. They said, come in. And the Buddha came in. Second time he asked the Buddha, get out. The Buddha went out. Second time he said, come in. The Buddha came in. Third time he asked the Buddha to get out. The Buddha refused to get out. He said, if you don't get out, I will either make you mad, or I will pull your heart out from your body, or I will catch your 2 feet and throw you across the 2 hills. The Buddha told him, I don't see anybody in the world that can do that to me. Then he said, then I will ask you a question. Then the Buddha said, ask. Then he asked the Buddha certain questions, and the Buddha answered him. He was so happy that he became a disciple of the Buddha. Strangely enough, I have a devotee in Malaysia who told me the cousin had moved into a new housing estate where they cleared the forest to develop the housing estate. And then that couple, one day, they went walking up the hills with their daughter. And the daughter was running in front. After some time, the daughter disappeared. They could not see the daughter. And they searched and searched, they could not find. And then they made a police report. And at the end of the day, they found the daughter over 2 hills. And the man who found the daughter said, something dropped from the sky. And he went to see, and he saw this small girl. So you see, it's a new area. So sometimes these devas, they have been living there for a long time peacefully, and then humans come and they are not happy. They caught this small girl and threw her over 2 hills. But the Buddha said, when we go, wherever we go, if we have loving kindness in our heart, you will not harm us. Because devas and ghosts, they are psychic. They can read your mind. If you are a virtuous person, you go into the forest, you will not harm you. If you are not a virtuous person, and you go into the forest and you talk too much, and you say the wrong things, they get into trouble. That's why like loggers, they go to the forest, they cut the trees, and be careful not to talk too much. The other thing.
We can ask any question,
Yes.
not related to the talk. Anything regarding meditation or something, whatever related to life. You don't just sit. Somebody is there to talk, you utilize the thing. No, knowledge comes at your doorstep, and if you don't utilize, then it is really very unfortunate. Please.
Yes.
One question. How about aliens? Where they belong? In what realm? Or in what kind of existence?
As I mentioned, that every world system, every solar system is a world. So just like we have human beings here, there are human beings elsewhere. So sometimes people suddenly see UFO, unidentified flying objects. But what type of beings, how they look like and all that, don't worry. But Professor Stephen Hawking said, better don't encounter them. They are more advanced, they are dangerous. Yes. Please stand up.
This was talked about earlier. With what's going on with the world now, with how we are treating the environment, I'm sure there is a belief of spiritual beings taking care of the environment. I could assume that. And how are they affected by our actions?
I forgot to mention just now that these 4 great heavenly beings, once in a while they come to survey the world. Survey the world. Inspect the world. Inspect the world. So it is said there are 4 days called the Uposatha days. The 8th day of the lunar calendar, of the lunar month. The 15th day the 28th or the 8th day of the second week, and the 29th or 30th day. So on the full moon day, the four great heavenly kings, the leaders themselves will come down, and they will inspect the humans, see whether they are keeping the precepts, whether they are behaving correctly. Or if the humans are behaving correctly, then they are happy, because they know there will be more humans coming up as devas to join them. And then on the other days, the lower ranking devas will come to inspect us. So the Buddha also said that our karma influences the world very much. Our greed, hatred and delusion. If there is much greed, hatred and delusion, the devas are not happy. Sometimes they withhold the rain. So when there is no rain, people starve. So weather conditions sometimes can be influenced by our karma. And also it is said that when beings are too corrupt, then because of greed, hatred and delusion, there are wars and all that. And then sometimes they will release fierce yakas to come down and kill human beings. So we have to be very careful of our karma. If our karma is good, the devas are happy, they will protect us. This I mentioned just now, Sakha Devaraja. Once in a while he likes to go pumping around in his chariot, enjoying himself in his chariot, led by 1,000 white horses. So it is mentioned one day that he came down from his palace just as he was about to get up on his chariot. He paid respect to the four quarters. And then his driver Matali asked him, Devaraja, humans, all the humans pay respect to you. Who are you paying respect to? He said, I pay respect to the virtuous monks, virtuous recluses. I also pay respect to the virtuous lay people who look after their family well, who do their duties, etc., keep their precepts, etc. So virtue, if you have virtue, even the devas respect you. And if they respect you, they will protect you. But if you are corrupt, if you are greedy, you break the precepts, harm other beings, you get the problem. Even before you die. After you die, you have to pay for it. Yes.
Question. Earlier you talked about different heavens, the state of happiness. Do you also believe that heaven is a place on earth as well?
Say again?
Do you believe that heaven is a place on earth?
Heaven is not a place on earth. Heaven, there are many levels of heaven. But if you know how to cultivate yourself, you can be as happy as though you are in heaven. The Buddha said, if a person has attained the fourth jhana, the fourth jhana is a very deep level of samadhi where the breath stops. And then the Buddha says, when that person comes out of that state, out of samadhi, if he sits as though in heaven. If he walks as though in heaven. If he stands as though in heaven. If he lies down, it is as though he is lying on a heavenly couch. You are blissed out.
I'd like to ask a question about, what they call enlightenment. In the Japanese tradition I'm familiar with, it's Kensho, or what others say is the realization of the true nature. In the practice of the jhanas, do you have to go through all four? Is that how it's seen, or is it? I'm not sure, how this would relate to what we call stream entry, or within the meditative.
In the Buddhist tradition, in original Buddhist tradition, two things are very important in the spiritual path. One is meditation, the other one is understanding the Dhamma. In fact, understanding the Dhamma is more important because it's the words of the Sammasambuddha. And if you listen to the words of the Sammasambuddha and you understand, you can already attain stream and free even without meditation. Provided you have the good karma, that means you are intelligent, you don't have obstructive karma. Then when you listen, you can understand, you become a changed person. The Buddha said, once you understand his words and you have attained stream and free, you will be walking in a different direction. You will tend towards seclusion. You will not tend to go with friends, enjoying yourself, sightseeing, happy hour and all that. So your character will change. You want to spend your time meditating and listening to the Dhamma, keeping your precepts, practicing generosity, helping people, etc. So your direction in life changes. If your direction in life does not change, you have not attained much. Some of these so-called stages of enlightenment sometimes may not be really valid. It depends. If it's really something worthwhile, your whole person changes.
There's a new movement called secular Buddhism, those who accept the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, but they do not accept the existence of Devas, the Yakas, the Gandharvas, and even reject the notions of karma and rebirth. What's your take on that?
I think it shows they don't have right view. The Buddha talked about worldly right view and Aryan right view. Worldly right view is very basic. There are three things in worldly right view. One is believe in karma vipaka. Because if you don't believe in karma vipaka, its action and its result, you will do whatever you like. Because you don't believe that you have to pay for it. Yeah? That's the reason why there are criminals in the world. Because they don't believe that they have to pay for it. They don't believe that there is a ghost realm, that they can be reborn in hell and all that. If they believe, they would not dare do it. So believe in karma vipaka is very basic. I was told some professor of Buddhism in England, he doesn't believe in karma vipaka.
It's even marginal.
So one is believe in karma vipaka. Secondly is believe in rebirth. That after you die, it's not that there's nothing after you die. And some people believe, or they like to believe, after you die there's nothing. If that is so, then I can do what I should enjoy myself, do the most, do whatever I like. Third one is believe that there are holy men who have practiced a spiritual path and attained stages of enlightenment. So this is only worldly right view. It's not yet Aryan right view. Aryan right view is understanding the Four Noble Truths, that existence is suffering, understanding the origin of suffering, understanding the cessation of suffering, and the path leading to the cessation of suffering. When the Buddha talked about suffering, he's not saying that life for everybody is suffering. Because as humans, we don't have much suffering. We enjoy life. Why? Because the Buddha said there are 5 destinations of rebirth. 2 are happy destinations and 3 are woeful planes. So now we are in a happy destination of rebirth. We are having it good. So we don't see much suffering. But when the Buddha says existence is suffering because of these 3 woeful planes, because samsara is endless, we are going on the round of rebirth endlessly, unless you become an Arya. And because of this endless cycle of rebirths, we will fall in the ghost realm countless times. We will fall into the animal and hell realm countless times. And the Buddha said, because we are driven by greed, hatred and delusion, that most of the time we will be in the three woeful planes. It's seldom that you come back as a human being or go to heaven.
So, do you consider the secular Buddhists to be schematics?
Yeah, it's just...
Yes.
I'd like to understand illness. Is illness just a karmic thing, or it can also be initiation process so that you can, as you said this morning, suffering is like also go through it to make you more conscious. And if so, is there a difference how we handle illness? If it's a karmic thing, and if it is a process of initiation, for lack of better word. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes. The Buddha said that suffering is not always due to karma. It's very often due to karma. So for example, if you get sick, it might be like today the weather is too hot. So weather can influence your body, or sometimes you ate the wrong thing, you have too much wind in your body, or you have too much phlegm in your body, or the tree is not balanced, or due to accident, like you're cutting your vegetables and you suddenly cut your hand. Not always due to karma, due to your carelessness. Sometimes accident. You're driving on the road, you're very careful driving, but somebody is not careful and it bangs into you. Yeah, so accidents happen. So there are various causes, not always due to karma. But whatever it is, we should take it as a lesson. Yeah, we try to learn from it, especially if it's due to karma. So I mentioned this morning that suffering is actually good. It makes us think. Like some people, you get cancer, you start asking, why me, why not other people? Yeah. When you start asking questions, then you start to think. And then you start to search. Making the effort to search is very important. A lot of people don't make any effort. You think everything will come to you. No, you must go and look for it. I went on a long spiritual journey. I studied all the major religions in the world. Eventually I came to Buddhism. When I first studied Buddhism, I couldn't understand why it's so deep. Not like other religions, so easy to understand. But I had the will to continue to study, and slowly I studied more. Slowly the jigsaw puzzles, the pictures started to form, and slowly you will understand. The Buddha said diligence, effort is very important. It will benefit you this life and the future life. Without effort, you get nothing. The Buddha said whatever you want, don't think of praying for it. You won't get it by prayer. You won't get it by vow. You won't get it by crying for it, thinking about it every day. The Buddha said you have to work for it. And the Buddha gave some very good examples. The Buddha said, suppose somebody wanted oil. So he took sesame seed, ground the sesame seed. He gets oil. Now whether he prays for it or he doesn't pray, he gets oil. Whether he makes a vow or doesn't make a vow, he'll get oil. Because he's doing the right thing. But somebody looking from far away thinks he wants to do the same thing. And then he puts sand in the grind and he grinds the sand. When he cannot get, he prays for it. He makes a vow. What do you get? You'll never get, because he's doing the wrong thing. Similarly, the Buddha said, suppose the person wanted butter. So he put curd or he put milk and he churned the milk. keep on churning. After a long time, or after some time, it turns into butter. Whether he prays or he makes a vow or he doesn't, still he'll get butter. But another person, he doesn't understand. He takes water, keeps churning the water. 100 years or so, he'll never get butter. Prays, makes vows, all that doesn't help. So we have to understand, if we want something, what is the proper way, what is the right way to get it, and we work for it. Another thing the Buddha said, if you think you want to go to heaven, you have to change your character right now until your character becomes the character of a Deva or a Devi. You are already a Deva or a Devi before you die. Then only you can go to heaven. Otherwise you are not qualified.
Is it also about karma? I'm just thinking that when we reach a certain point of no identification with the I as yourself, karma does not exist.
It was the last sentence, is it? What was the last sentence, is it?
When you reach a point that there is no identification with the I as the self, karma does not exist.
Karma does not exist. Oh, only for the Arahant, the person who is fully enlightened, he has no more self. And because he has no more self, there is no basis for that karma vipaka to act on. So like the Buddha, he said, whenever he wants to do something or he doesn't want to do something, it's all the same to him. He is not moved at all. Somebody gets angry with him, he's not moved. Somebody is very happy with him, also he's not moved. Because there's no more self. The Buddha said, if you will take a dagger and you stab an Arahant, an enlightened being, he will not call for help. Because there's no more self. He does not identify with the body. We identify with the body. Anything happens to the body, we are alarmed. He doesn't see the body as a self.
Is it possible for a simple human being's mind to come into the different realms temporarily, then come out?
Say again, please.
Come back.
Can you say again, please?
Is it possible for a simple human mind to come into the different realms once in a while and come back?
It might be real, it might be your imagination. But there is such a thing as out-of-body experience. There are some people, they can go astral traveling. There's one, I think British guy, came to our monastery for a retreat, and he told me from young he has a tendency to get out of the body. So he was wondering whether it's real or not. So he decided to test it. So at night when he was sleeping, he went out and went to see certain places. Then the next day when he had woken up, he went driving to see those places, and he confirmed that what he saw was real. But he told me there's a funny thing, when he gets out of the body, when he goes near the electric lines, he gets stuck to the electric lines. Then he has to use his mind to pull himself out away from the electric lines. Yes. Come here, stand here.
So maybe I'm not very holy in nature. I'm a typical person who goes out at night and then really work hard in the day. But I have a relationship. So maybe my question is, how can I integrate the learnings of Buddhism in my daily life?
How can I what?
Integrate teachings of Buddhism in my daily life. Because, I'm sorry.
Come here, it's alright.
I'm sorry, you can hear.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe the question is, how can I apply the learning of Buddhism in my day-to-day life? Because I'm not really very holy as a person. I'm just normal. So I go to work, I'm in a corporate setting. During weekends, I go out with my friends. So just yesterday, I drank a mojito in Margarita, but I'm here because I wanted to, I'm interested in meditation and karma and the Buddhist practice. So there, I'm interested in how I can apply that. And maybe I have friends who's into yoga and meditation as well, and I'm sure they'll be interested. But they may have the same lifestyle as I.
Yes, as to how you can apply Buddhism in your daily life, first you have to understand the Buddha's teachings. And when I get back to Malaysia, I will send my SD card of my Dhamma talks. There are about 300 hours of my English talks in the SD card. I will send it to Brother Mon. And you can either copy from him, or if there's extra, you can get a copy from him. Secondly, for lay persons, karma, the action that you do is very important. So the Buddha said, whenever you are about to do something by way of your body, speech, or mind, you have to contemplate whether what you're going to do or what you're going to say is harmful or beneficial. If it's harmful to anybody, you should not do it. If it's beneficial, you should do it again and again. So before you do, you have to contemplate. While you are doing, the Buddha also said you should contemplate. After you have done also, you should contemplate. For example, when you lost your temper, maybe you scolded your mother. After 1 or 2 days, when you think about it, then you regret. And try to make up for it. And next time don't do it again. So if we contemplate before, during and after, then our 3 karmas will be pure. And that is good, because the Buddha said, if we have unwholesome states of mind, for example, greed, anger, jealousy, arrogance, looking down on others, etc., these unwholesome states will bring us to woeful planes of rebirth, to the ghost realm, animal realm, and hell realm. But if we develop wholesome states of mind, for example, kindness, compassion, generosity, humility, all these good wholesome states will bring us up. If not to the human realm, then if not to the heavenly realm, then at least to the human realm. So we must always examine and try to develop our character. Our character is very important, because our character shapes our soul. I'm one of the few monks, Buddhist monks, who believe in the soul. But the soul in the Buddhist tradition is different from the Christian tradition. In Christianity, the soul is permanent, eternal, but not in the Buddha's teachings. In the Buddha's teachings, the soul can change, the soul can die, and take another form. It's actually like the astral body. And I tell you that because of certain things I've seen and heard. One is, one of my devotees, an old man, he told me that auntie had a very nasty character, full of hate, full of anger. 2 days before she died, the 2 Dracula teeth came out so long. And the whole family was shocked. 2 days later, when she died, the teeth disappeared. What does it mean? It means that the astral body inside that is coming out has turned into a fierce ghost. Because 2 or 3 days before a person dies, this spirit is coming out of his body. He starts to see another world. That person starts to see another world. And he knows where he's going. That's why you find most people when they are dying, they are scared. Because most people, when we die, we will go into the ghost realm. Even you have not done much evil, you are an ordinary person, you will go into the ghost realm. Why? Because we are in a happy destination of rebirth. We are enjoying life. We are using up our blessings every day. If you don't know how to replenish your blessings, you will have to, it will be your turn to go to the ghost realm. So, we have to be very careful every day to develop good qualities and get rid of bad qualities. The other thing you should know, the Buddha gave a formula how to develop blessings. Everybody needs blessings. If you have great blessings, you are reborn as a Deva or a Devi. If you have no blessings, you'll be reborn as a pig or a dog or something. So how to get blessings? The Buddha said, Dana, Sila, Bhavana. Dana is charity, generosity, helping others in any way you can. Because helping others shows kindness. The second, but generosity, charity is easy to do because normally you have extra cash only, you donate, yeah. They're not like Bill Gates. Bill Gates gives 95% of his wealth away. For ordinary person, even to give 5% is difficult, yeah. So generosity is easy, so the blessings is the least. More difficult is sila, moral conduct, keeping your precepts. There are 7 precepts that are very important. 7 precepts that restrain us from doing evil through the body and through the speech. Through the body, you can do evil by killing. Like some people like to go hunting wild boar and all that. The second way you do evil through the body is stealing. What does not belong to you, you cheat in business or whatever. The third way is sexual misconduct. Fooling around with people's husband or people's wife, etc. So these are the 3 evil karmas through the body. Through the mouth, we can create 4 types of evil karma. One is lying. The Buddha said, if you are bold enough to lie, then you are bold enough to do anything. No sense of shame. Secondly, is divisive speech. You hear A talking bad about B, the next day you go and tell B, hey, last night A said this and that about you. Then you force them to quarrel. The third is foul language, false language. There's some people like to use foul language, foul words. The fourth is idle gossip, wasting time, gossiping about other people and all that. So the 7 precepts is not to kill, not to steal, not to engage in sexual misconduct, and then not to lie, not to engage in divisive speech, not to use coarse language, and the fourth, not to engage in idle gossip. So this is harder to do. So the merit from keeping the precepts is bigger, more. The third, which is the hardest to do, is Dana Sila Bhavana. Bhavana is development. Development of your character, development of your mind. Development of your character is, as I mentioned just now, getting rid of unwholesome states and developing wholesome states. As I said, you want to be reborn as a Deva. Right now, you have to have a character of a Deva or a Devi. That is development of character. And development of mind is meditation. You meditate, you get rid of 5 things. There are 5 things that always trouble us. It's called the 5 hindrances. One is sensual desire, ill will or anger, sloth and torpor, restlessness and worry and doubt. There are some people, the sensual desire is so strong. Sometimes you read the newspaper, old man raped the granddaughter. Some people, the anger is so strong. When they quarrel, they take the machete and chop somebody up. So these 5 hindrances give us much mental suffering. The Buddha also said that these 5 hindrances are great obstructions to wisdom. Because of these 5 hindrances, our mind is blurred. And we do things without thinking much, because we have a blurred mind. So they are great obstructions to wisdom. When we meditate and attain samadhi, focused mind, when we have a focused mind, then we can see things clearly. Yeah, and we act with wisdom. So development of the character and development of the mind bring us up. But that is difficult to do, and because it is difficult to do, is the greatest merit. During the Buddha's days, there was a bandit called Angulimala. He killed hundreds of people. He lived in the hills. Whenever a caravan or something came by, he was so strong, he could run faster than the horse. And he could shoot his arrows so accurately, he killed hundreds of people. But because the Buddha realized that this person has the potential to be a good monk, the Buddha went to him. He tried to kill the Buddha by running behind. He ran as fast as he could not come nearer to the Buddha. Then he shouted to the Buddha, "Stop ascetic, stop samana." Then the Buddha turned around and told him, "I have stopped, you have not stopped." Then he wondered, how come? The Buddha said this. He dropped his weapons and he asked the Buddha to explain. The Buddha said, "I have stopped from harming all living beings. You have not stopped. Because if you have not stopped, it means you still go on the round of rebirths." So, as he sat there, the Buddha taught him the Dhamma. After he listened to the Buddha's Dhamma, he became a monk. After he became a monk, because of his bad karma, every day when he went out on alms round to collect his food, sometimes people will throw a rock at him. Sometimes somebody whose relative has been killed by him will take a stick and beat him. He'll come back to the monastery with blood running down his head. So the Buddha asked him to bear it because of the evil karma you have done. So he struggled very hard. If a person has killed somebody, it's very hard to meditate. Because when you meditate, all these visions of blood and people screaming and all that come to disturb. He struggled very hard and he became enlightened. After he became enlightened, he did not have to go to hell. So once you become an Arya, the 3 woeful planes are closed. You will be never reborn as a ghost, animal or hell. That's the best thing you can get in life. Nothing better.
I just want to clarify. I hope you don't mind if I try to compare. Because we know that there are different schools of Buddhism or sects. And in your tradition, when we say enlightenment, is it going into the heavenly realm or transcending heaven and earth or samsara and nirvana? And the second question is, how do we...
Wait, one by one. As far as the original teachings of the Buddha goes, there are 8 levels of enlightenment, 8 stages. The Buddha talked about the lowest is the first path attainer, and then the first fruit, second path attainer, second fruit, third path attainer, third fruit, and fourth path and fourth fruit. And the Buddha also said that once you attain the path, in the same lifetime you will change to fruit. Okay? So the first path is by listening to the Buddha's words and reflecting on it, investigating it, examining it and understanding. when you understand, then you realize the nature of the world. You understand impermanence. Everything is impermanent. And because everything is impermanent, it gives us suffering. We cling to it. And also, you understand anatta, no self, that there is nothing that is permanent in the whole world. Nothing is permanent that does not change. Right? So once you understand that, you have become stream and you have attained stream entry, first path. And within the same lifetime, because once a person has attained stream entry, he will continue to practice, and that wisdom will ripen and becomes fruit. So the first fruit is called Sotapanna. This Sotapanna person has at most 7 more lifetimes. And these 7 more lifetimes can either be in heavens or as a human being. Maximum of 7. There are some, they come back 2 or 3 times. It can be even as a human being 2 or 3 times. Then after that, he makes effort and attains enlightenment. Or can even be once, come back once only, and then he makes the effort and then he attains enlightenment. Okay, so that is Sotapanna. And then it does not need meditation, but if meditation helps. The second stage, the Sakadagamin, once returner, means after he attains Sakadagamin, he goes to the heaven. Is reborn in heaven, like our Buddha, born in the Tusita heaven. After that, he comes down to the human realm, and he only once he will enter Nibbana by making great effort, like our Buddha. The Buddha suffered so much, struggling to attain enlightenment, that the Buddha said, you cannot find another ascetic who suffered more than him in the past, present, or future. At the most, they only equal him. The details are found in the discourse in the Majjhima Nikaya. The third type of Arya, the Anagamit, is called a non-returner, meaning he will never return as a human being. Because he has attained the 4 jhanas, he is reborn in the 4th jhana heaven. He stays there and then he will enter Nibbana from there because he has done most of the work. The last one is the Arahant. The Arahant carries his last body. In this very life, when he passes away, he will enter Nibbana. There is one discourse where an Arahant died. And then the Buddha went to see his corpse with his disciples. And then the Buddha told his disciples to look in the distance. There's a black cloud flying to and fro. Then they said yes. The Buddha said that is Mara or Satan. He's looking for the consciousness of the Arahant. But he can never find the consciousness of the Arahant because the consciousness has ceased.
I just want to get your opinion because I've learned in the Tibetan Buddhism that the concept of enlightenment or liberation is not to be in Nirvana or in the heavenly realms. Instead, it is transcending Nirvana in samsara. Hence, there's no Nirvana, there's no samsara. Joining them into one unity, and there's no dualistic thinking about samsara.
This kind of teachings found in Tibetan Buddhism is not taught by the Buddha. They talk about crazy wisdom where you can do as you like, not the Buddha's teaching. The reason is because Tibetan Buddhism started 1,200 years after the Buddha's passing away. After such a long time, they're not even interested in the discourses of the Buddha. They engage in a lot of ritual. That's what Tibetan Buddhism is about. They practice a lot of mantras that the Buddha did not teach. They go into a trance. You can see on YouTube. Any other question?
Okay, with that, I call on those of you who want to express their gratitude by putting their hands together and saying 3 times, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.